Tonight, sweeping reforms in Parliament as the House considers far-reaching proposals that will hand more power to opposition political parties, including chairmanship of the committee responsible for approving appointments of the incumbent president.
Mr. Speaker, for instance, the appointment committee. It is a beautiful idea that the committee is now chaired by a member from a party that is not forming government.
We have details as Parliament proposes to probe independent constitutional bodies like the Electoral Commission and Straj on the floor of the House, just like ministers.
In this day and age where constitutional bodies are playing very key roles and there must be a mechanism for holding them accountable, we will deny ourselves an opportunity to use the tools of parliamentary processes to hold these institutions accountable if we don't grant them audience.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. They are sweeping reforms that will put more power in the hands of opposition political parties in Parliament, including granting them chairmanship of the parliamentary committee responsible for approving appointments of the incumbent president. Now, Parliament has today been considering far-reaching amendments to its standing orders. Currently, the Appointments Committee is chaired by the first Deputy Speaker, who since the inception of the Fourth Republic has always belonged to the party in government. Also, Parliament is proposing to probe independent constitutional bodies like the EC and Straj on the floor of the House, just like ministers. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins us right now with more on these proposals. Kweku, some of the changes make for interesting reading, including a committee for ways and means.
Right, Evans. You know, in the U.S. and in other such developed jurisdictions, there's that committee for ways and means. They do varied things. For instance, in the U.S., the Committee of Ways and Means write tax bills. But the Ghanaian Parliament is introducing a Ways and Means Committee as the supervisor of all other committees in Parliament. In fact, if you look at the proposal in that Parliament is considering now, they say that the committee is responsible for monitoring the activities of all parliamentary committees and apportioning funds from money allocated for carrying out programs approved in the budget of the respective committees. Currently, the dispensation is that if committees want to do anything, they would have to go through the clerk of Parliament or the clerk to Parliament. Parliament wants to take this power from the clerk, who is not an elected official, and give it to elected MPs. So the Committee on Ways and Means will be looking at some of these issues. In fact, MPs have been raising concerns about the name. They say that Ways and Means say a lot of things about underhand dealings, among other things. But the Speaker of Parliament says they've struggled to find a nomenclature that fits the specifics of what they want to do with this committee, and that is why they are sticking with the name Committee on Ways and Means.
The review standing orders is also establishing the Committee on Ethics and Standards. It's also establishing a Committee on Development and the Economy, establishing a committee, a budget, a committee. The review standing order is establishing budget, a committee also. Is also establishing a committee on ways and means. Is establishing a committee on independent constitutional body.
Mr. Speaker, for instance, the appointment committee. It is a beautiful idea that the committee is now chaired by a member from a party that is not forming government. As captured. But I was also of the view that with regards to ministers who have been vetted and approved by the committee, if they are reshuffled one way or the other, we do refer them back to the committee.
Very interesting proposals there, including a change from the current standing orders where only ministers are allowed to answer questions on the floor. Parliament is seeking to extend this to cover independent constitutional bodies like the Electoral Commission and Straj. What more do we know?
Exactly, Evans. And even before I go there, talking about these committees, you just heard the Habib Idris talking about the appointment committee to be chaired by the party in opposition. Parliament agreed that Finance Committee, Committee on Defence and Interior, Committee on Foreign Affairs, a new committee to be called Committee on Security and Intelligence, Committee on Pensions, must all be chaired by the governing party, by the Public Accounts Committee, Committee on Subsidiary Legislation, Committee on Government and Parliamentary Assurances, a new committee to be called the Budget Committee, which will now be scrutinizing the budget of the government and also to ensure that the budget is being implemented properly. As well as the Appointment Committee will all now be chaired by the party in opposition, the party not controlling the government, while the other committee will be chaired by virtue of the numbers in Parliament. And so that has to do with some of the issues with the committee. When it comes to the matters having to do with constitutional bodies, the Electoral Commission, SHRAJ, MPs have been consistently raising issues about how they are unable to scrutinize the activities. The only time they're able to do so is when these constitutional bodies are bringing their budget through the Special Budget Committee. But now, with the revision of these new standing orders, what will happen is that Madam Evans Mensah can be asked a question by any member of Parliament, and she will have to appear on the floor, just like ministers do, and answer the questions. And in the opinion of Mahama Ayaga, MP for Boko Central, that is a brilliant change that must be supported.
I recall the debate that took place around the question of whether heads of independent constitutional bodies should be admitted in this House. And I recall I was one of those that had doubts about whether or not we could allow them to appear before us. But clearly, Mr. Speaker, in this day and age where constitutional bodies are playing very key roles, and there must be a mechanism for holding them accountable, we will deny ourselves an opportunity to use the tools of parliamentary processes to hold these institutions accountable if we don't grant them audience. And so the proposal that allows us to give audience to independent constitutional bodies to appear before us, given that they are not under sector ministers, and the existing rules only allow sector ministers to appear before us and answer questions. If we stick to the existing rules, we will deny ourselves the opportunity to hold independent constitutional bodies accountable by the mechanisms of parliamentary oversight that are known to us.
And Kweku, I'm interested in the Finance Committee, very powerful committee, but there's a proposal now to break that committee down now. What would it look like?
In fact, Evans, the committee will now, in terms of its powers, be whittled and shared among new committees. For instance, there's going to be a new committee on economy and development planning, a new committee on public administration and state interest, and a number of new for instance, the committee on budget. In the past, everything having to do with finance, tax waivers, everything went to the Finance Committee, which made it very powerful. And in fact, the majority and the minorities have all said that a number of new MPs who come to Parliament always say they want to go to the Finance Committee because of what they think they will benefit when they go there. And because of this, Parliament is taking some of those powers away from the committee and dividing it among other committees. According to the chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee, this is incredible because even when he himself came to Parliament, that is the committee he wanted to be on.
You see one committee, you ask yourself, Mr. Speaker, every day. Like myself, I used to, when I became a member of Parliament, the first thing that I said, I want to be on Committee of Finance. You ask yourself, why do you want to be on Committee of Finance? Somebody said, I want to be on Committee of Energy. You can always have a limited number of people on each committee.
And Parliament is also now expected to have a committee on security and intelligence. The Greater Accra Regional Minister has some concerns on this. What's his concern exactly?
This is going to be a committee that is sort of going to be a breakaway from the larger Defense and Interior Committee. It is molded and shaped in the line of the committees of intelligence that we have in the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives, where they are going to receive periodic briefings on national security and security and intelligence matters. The Greater Accra Regional Minister says that there's a lot of politicization of issues in this country. He wants members who will be on that committee to at least swear an oath of secrecy or to sign to some documents before divulging national security information to the public.
We have
Committee on Defense and Interior. Mr. Speaker, clearly security and intelligence is a different ballgame altogether. May I suggest that though members of parliament and ministers of state may have sworn different oaths of secrecy and all that, that members who will be selected to be on this committee, there should be a clause, Mr. Speaker, to, as it were, guide them from divulging confidential information that may harm the security of the nation. Mr. Speaker, I say so because oftentimes we meet at committee levels, ordinary committee levels, your committee in Parliament, and discussions that are held there are brought in the open, public discussions. So, Mr. Speaker, this particular committee has to be looked at carefully, and members who go on it must be made to sign something to assure Mr. Speaker that should they divulge any matter, any sensitive matter that comes to their attention during the course of their performing their duties, Mr. Speaker, that they will be sanctioned. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a very important area that we have to look at. You cannot play politics of the national security of this country. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much.
And Kuku, very quickly, so has this been approved now?
So the committee report has now been adopted. In fact, Dr. Dominic Ayine and the Speaker in the past had some disagreement as to whether or not this should be by resolution or be by subsidiary legislation. They all now agree that this must be by resolution. So the committee report has not been adopted. It is expected that in the coming days a resolution will be taken. But I sense a general consensus among all MPs. Some of the MPs, for instance, who have been talking to me, say that, for instance, when it comes to the appointment committee to now be chaired by a minority MP, they feel like maybe Evans Mensah is playing a smart game there. He believes no big appointments are going to come from the government at the twilight of its term, and so this is to sort of predict a future NPP party in opposition, so that they'll be getting some of these powerful committees. But in general, almost all of them agree that this must go through. The report has not been adopted. It's expected that in the coming days the resolution will be taken, and as the Speaker of Parliament has said, in the next meeting, which will commence at the end of October or early November, then this new standing order will take effect.
Okay, and thankfully we can now bring in the former Deputy Attorney General, who is also Member of Parliament for Bogatanga East, who today was on his feet as part of the debate on the floor, joins us right now, Dr. Dominic Ayine. I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Evans, for having me.
Also joining us is Dr. Rashid Dramani. He's Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Dr. Ayine, let me start with you. You know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix. What is broken about the existing standing orders that you're proposing such sweeping changes?
Well, the existing standing orders have been with us since the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1992, and they were supposed to amplify the powers, the constitutional powers, granted to Parliament under the Constitution, and to regulate the procedures of, the practices and procedures of Parliament. As you would understand, we've done 30 years with these standing orders. There have been gaps in the implementation, and therefore there was a need for us to update them, to bring them up to speed, not only with respect to our own, practices and procedures, but also in tandem with, best practice in other parliaments, of the world. And that is what informed the decision to review them. In fact, Evans, the decision was taken way back in 2000 by Speaker Lajete. He thought that after just a few years, under a decade of, implementation, there was a need for them to be updated. And so the updating of the standing orders actually dates to the year 2000, but they have been substantially modified, as far as, the draft that we have is concerned. So, for instance, I'll give you a concrete example. I'm sure you are familiar with the constitutional provision relating to the service of process on members, criminal and civil processes on members of Parliament, and back and forth between Parliament and the judiciary regarding what is the right procedure. So currently, in the draft standing orders, we have tried to amplify Article 117, which is a constitutional provision dealing with service of process, and basically seek to make it very clear how services to be effective. So, for instance, we are now providing for a situation where if we are in recess, all right, the immunities under the Constitution will virtually not apply. But if the member is served with a criminal or civil process, okay, there is a duty placed on the registrar to inform Mr. Speaker about the service of the process on that, a member. And so we are also, seeking to exact more accountability. And I remember your reporter mentioning the appointments committee. The fact that we are now proposing that the appointment committee be headed by, a chairperson drawn from the minority side. Okay, meaning that there will be no situation where, because of the alignment of, the majority side with the government, there may be situations where appointees come, they have issues, and those issues may be swept under the carpet because the chairman is run from the majority side that is aligned to the government. So there are a number of changes there that are quite interesting, and I'm sure you will take time to study.
And one of the changes that caught my attention is this one that, in essence, proposes to exert a bit more authority over independent constitutional bodies like the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission will quickly cite you to the possibility of you violating the constitutional provision, Article 46, and they keep citing that, which says, except as provided in this constitution or in any other law not consistent with this constitution, in the performance of its functions, the Electoral Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority. Yet you want them now to be appearing before you on the floor like ministers and questioning them a bit more.
Well, Evans, there is no intention whatsoever on the part of Parliament to exert control or give direction to any of the independent constitutional bodies, right? But our remit relates specifically to the fact that the appropriations is usually, done by Parliament. Okay, when the Minister of Finance presents the budget, and then the Special Budget Committee then meets with the independent constitutional bodies in order to deal with issues relating to their appropriations. Sometimes there are issues of accountability. So we vote money for the Electoral Commission. That money has been spent. Are you suggesting that asking for the Electoral Commission to account for how it has spent that money for purposes of the next appropriation bill is something that will infringe upon their independence as a body under the Constitution? I don't think so. I think that we would, have been infringing the Constitution if we were seeking to direct the Electoral Commission as to how to perform its functions. All right, is a core mandate of conducting elections. If we were seeking to direct them by dragging them to this house to question them on the manner in which they have been performing their functions, in that way we will be infringing the Constitution. But where our mandate is limited to the appropriations and how monies are released by Parliament to these independent constitutional bodies, have been spent, I don't think that will be in any way acting outside the ambit of the Constitution.
Doc, please stay with me. I want to bring in Dr. Rashid Ramani, now Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. What do you make of these sweeping changes, really fundamental, far-reaching? And one of the things that, again, caught my attention is that this proposed standing order, which is now being reviewed, will hand more power to the opposition party. Currently, a few committees are chaired by the opposition party, like the Assurances Committee, like the Subsidiary Legislation. They are adding a bit more to this now, including the Appointments Committee, which is the committee that approves the appointments of incumbent president. And there's, budget committee that they're also going to form. Is that a good idea in a highly polarized political environment like ours?
Well, Evans, thank you very much. Let me say, far-reaching as it is, I think they've even gone far enough as some of us would have loved. Because, for instance, if you look at the committees that, going forward, opposition parties would chair, some of us would have
loved to see a lot more, kind of real oversight committees. So, for instance, the Committee on Health, the Committee on Education, and so on and so forth. That is how some countries in East Africa have been conducting their parliamentary affairs lately. Having said that, I think let me commend first of all the leadership of Parliament, because as Dr. Ini has indicated, the attempt to review these standing orders, started way back. Our center did some work, CDD did some work, many other institutions did work with Parliament, and each time the revisions are about to take place, then Parliament gets dissolved, and then we start all over again. So let me commend the leadership of Parliament this time around for making sure that this has happened. Let me also say, apart from all the other matters that have been discussed, I think the standing orders have, done very well in terms of clarifying a number of things that seems to be gaps in the current standing orders. For instance, now we have time for backbenchers. The role of the speaker, I see the emphasis on consensus building. Sanctions for breaching parliamentary privileges and contempt of parliament and so on. But one thing that also got my attention, I think, is now the Abdullah versus the Attorney General. Now it has found its way into the new standing orders, so that deputy speakers, when they are presiding, can vote. Some clarity has been brought to that, and many others, Evans. But one of the things that I would have loved to see, because I was part of this process, the committee that the Right Honorable Speaker set up, I contributed my little quota, and I was hoping one of the committees that I advised them to set up is a Committee of the Future, which is a committee that exists, for instance, in the Parliament of Finland, that sits down and assumes and imagines the future of our country and try to see maybe how Parliament should position itself. I didn't see that, so that is one little disappointment that I have. But also, I think, Evans, if you remember, before we got clarity in terms of who is majority and who is minority in this 8th Parliament, there was a lot of back and forth. The current standing orders never anticipated a hung Parliament, So I was hoping that also would have been dealt with in terms of trying to give some clarity to the definition of these things, so that tomorrow we don't wake up and then we are before a situation, and then speakers are struggling to give interpretation and so on and so forth. But overall, I think a good move, and I hope that we can improve on it. As we go along.
Dr. Domekina, you are a politician, so let me ask you that question. I started off with Dr. Rashid Rahman.
Which one?
You may well be in government in 2025, and you'll be handing control of the appointments committee to your opponents. How did you get consensus around this?
Well, I think the consensus was built around the values, the fundamental values of the Constitution. You would agree that the Constitution has a number of core fundamental values, including accountability and transparency. And therefore, we want to exact as much accountability as possible. So if a president nominates, and you have, as I've said, the president's party presiding, most of the time the tendency is for the chairman to be protective of the nominees of the president. All right, but we want a situation where the chairperson, being from the opposition, will have no motivation whatsoever to want to protect the nominees, and then, not let the entire picture regarding the competence, and capabilities of the nominee, to be brought to public limelight. The vetting process is a process that is to enable the Ghanaian people, assess the competence, capabilities and qualifications of persons nominated by the president for various executive positions, for judicial positions in the case of judges and so on and so forth. And so we think that this is going to accord, centrally with the core values of the Constitution in terms of exacting accountability and transparency.
And when do you hope that this will be passed? From what I understand, the committee's report has been adopted now. Does it mean that it's been...
Most likely, either tomorrow or early next week, the resolution will be adopted. And once the resolution has been adopted and passed, then the new standing orders would have kicked into force. But of course, they will have to go to the printer, the government printer or some designated printer for them to be printed out for use by members of parliament. I'm sure very soon, maybe by October, when we resume work in parliament, the new standing orders will be in force.
On the point regarding independent constitutional bodies, were there any consultations with them? Were their views sought before this was put? Well,
there was a technical committee that was set up, and my information is that the technical committee met with I don't know whether some or all of them before the proposals were put into the new standing orders.
And very briefly, Dr. Rashid Dramani now. So this is home and dry. You say you wanted more, but you take what you currently have. How much of a difference will this make, though? Because there's real fear, for example, that you have the appointments committee for one of the most important committees. If you have the opposition party chairing it, that can also produce great luck if the opposition party, in an environment such as we have, decides to use that authority and control to frustrate an incumbent government.
Well, I don't think so, Evans. I don't think so because, as you know, at the end of the day, even after the appointments committee has done its work, the whole matter has to go back to the plenary, and the plenary takes the final decision. So I don't think there are any fears there. It's just similar to how the Public Accounts Committee is chaired by somebody from the opposition, and it looks into the books of government, and I don't think that has created any gridlock. And as we are on the matter of the appointments committee, I was also pleased to see that some of the suggestions that we were making in terms of making sure that people who belong to committees that have oversight over the potential appointees should have some say in terms of the proceedings of the appointments committee, as is done in many other jurisdictions. The new standing orders has taken some steps, even if not complete, to give the opportunity to people from other oversight committees that have concern or that are related to the portfolio that the nominee is going to occupy, at least to have a say during the appointment. So all good, Evans. Thank you. I think it's all good, but I think I would have loved to see more.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Dramani and Dr. Dominic Ayine. This has been done on your behalf. Let me hear from you. 055-1111-997. News 19 in a minute.
Hey, you ever buy credits where you get up to 20% of your money back before? Make I tell you about Vodafone's demo promo. See, anytime you recharge a demo, you get up to 20%, whether it be short code or your Vodafone cash wallet, or you don't use credit transfer to your number or someone else. And now you be high tech, so you don't use my Vodafone app or any payment app. However you do, Vodafone go send you up to 20% cash back. Into your Vodafone cash account. We'll reload here. But then you enter. Top up your airtime with 5 Ghana cedi or more in Vodafone's demo promo. And receive 20% of your money back straight into your Vodafone cash wallet. Recharge and cash out in the Vodafone demo promotion.
Vodafone, further together.
I've got Bell back and I won't let go.
My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth, and gentle on the skin. Same as Belpack kitchen towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Belpack kitchen towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Belpack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Paper chow. Belpack is simply the best. Belpack, just perfect.
To be a Belpack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Belpack.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight.
If the good old prof has got information for us on aspects of the complaint, we will reach out to him.
There's the possibility that you call upon him at some point in time.
Definitely, especially in regard to the areas, one, that he can support the commission with evidence.
Tonight, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice to invite former Environment Minister Professor Frimpong Boateng to assist with investigations into allegations politically connected individuals stifled the Galamsey fight.
We're doing a lot. We've reached out to a number of state institutions, expecting them to forward to us evidence of what we also expect from the complainant as well.
A tall list of state institutions have been asked to provide evidence. We will hear from Shraj as it insists the failure of the South Dai MP to furnish it with evidence will not affect its probe, but there are practical challenges.
It is a duty of every complainant, if you actually have a case before the commission, to be seen to be interested in supporting the commission. Because Frimpong Boateng cannot give evidence against himself.
Also tonight, multiple legal and administrative processes set in motion to have a new judge handle the trial of minority leader Kaiso Latofosing as the current judge is accused of bias. We have details for you as the Chief Justice begins to probe into the matter. Plus, NDC minority alleges treason ahead of parliamentary probe into leaked audio revealing alleged plots to remove IGP as part of a conspiracy to rig the 2024 elections as they push for a public hearing.
We will have to invite them in public. And it should be starting soon, early as tomorrow, if possible.
As in cameras allowed into the sitting of this particular program.
Exactly. And we want all the individuals whose names were mentioned in the tape to be present.
We have the latest as Parliament finalizes terms of reference in business.
Ghana Union of Trade Association sets condition for reduction in prices of goods on the market despite the city's marginal stability against the dollar.
And in sports, Ghana's Black Stars drawn alongside Mali and the Central African Republic in Group I of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers.
And then later we celebrate the life of renowned author and poet Ama Ataidu, who was laid to rest today.
Her books really need to continue to be used in schools, because the depth of her text and her thinking and her writing, I think that we should just continue to relish her memory.
We have more as her daughter applauds her mother for teaching her and other women to fight for their rights.
We shared an impossible, enduring, encompassing bond that ensqueezed a lifetime of loving and friendship into those afternoons and evenings.
Tonight, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice says it will invite former Environment Minister Professor Frimpong Boateng to assist with its investigations into allegations politically connected individuals stifled the Galamsey fight. This indication comes in the wake of Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxy Nelson Dafiamekpo, informing the Commission he does not have any evidence to provide. The legislator petitioned Sraj to investigate the matter following widespread publication of the report with a focus on how government and politically connected individuals frustrated the fight against illegal mining.
Professor Frimpong Boateng himself is the best person to make available these details. So I've responded to the letter, and Prof has indicated his willingness to appear before the commission and answer to questions. So I believe that once he's invited to speak to the matter, you will have documents to adduce to support the claim that he made in the report that he issued to the office of the president, which is the subject of the petition. Then the indication I get is that they are waiting for these documents before they make progress. That indeed that is the tenor of the last paragraph of the letter. So I have responded appropriately by saying that they can proceed with the matter, and Frimpong Boateng says the documents and the other materials that they want from me, and so he will provide them.
You had a Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxy Nelson Dafiamekpo, legal affairs correspondent, joins us right now with more on this. And Joseph Akable, you've been speaking to Sraj about this development. What's the way forward?
Commissioner Joseph Otao first explains that they had to write to the Member of Parliament because he is the individual who has petitioned them, and they consider it necessary to get as much information, as much evidence available to them as necessary. And so they make the point that despite he deciding or indicating he cannot provide same to them, it does not end the investigation, and that they will go ahead to carry out the full-scale probe into the matter.
We deem it necessary that we reach back to the complainant and his lawyers to give us further and better particulars, because they are the complainant, and the allegations contained in the Frimpong Boateng report have now been parceled and sent to the commission as their complaint. And so they have a duty to assist in the investigations, particularly in aspects that they may have better information than the commission. And so we gave the list of the areas of interest in terms of evidence that we think, if they have it, they should make it available to the commission. It took a while. I think that letter has been with them for well over 3-4 weeks. Until now, we have, that is if I remember, a response from them. But of course, I want to assure Ghanaians that the commission is investigating this complaint irrespective of whether the complainant is able to assist or not. There's nothing wrong with having the opportunity to look at all possible evidence and all nuances of the evidence in order to make the findings that we think we have to make. So we have done a lot for now.
I mean, in terms of their response to you, they specifically make the point that Professor Frimpong Boateng has what you need, and he's already publicly indicated that he authored those documents. Am I to understand that the individuals that you intend to invite, or those you have already invited, does it include Professor Frimpong Boateng?
As I told you, we don't do that. We don't normally want to do this in the media. But of course, if the good old prof has got information for us on aspects of the complaint, we will reach out to him. But you see, there is an aspect of the complaint we need complainants to appreciate. In addition to the report by Frimpong Boateng, the complainants have made specific allegations against Professor Frimpong Boateng himself on allegations of corruption and the missing excavators and others. You don't expect that. That means that in the context of the allegations against Frimpong Boateng, in the eyes of the commission, becomes a respondent. And so we can't be asking Frimpong Boateng to come and give evidence against himself. we must get that evidence external of Frimpong Boateng. So the areas that we may need Frimpong Boateng will be areas that have no allegations against him, but for which he has the evidence to support.
So it means that at this stage, there's the possibility that you call upon him at some point in time.
Definitely. Especially in regard to the areas, one, that he can support the commission with evidence about his own report and possibly reach out to him as a respondent in respect of the allegations made specifically against him in the area of corruption and the excavators.
In terms of that allegation, how would you be investigating it? Clearly they did not give you any evidence with regards to that specific one.
That is why we wrote to them, to appreciate the need to give further and better particulars, because Frimpong Boateng cannot give evidence against himself.
Joseph, this surely should present some challenges going forward nonetheless, because Shraj will be flying blind here.
Yes, and that is a difficulty that they intend to nonetheless work with what they have so far, because they have no other option but to build a case by relying on what's available to them and also what they'll be able to get from other state institutions before they can even decide which named individuals they intend to go after.
But you see, there is an aspect of the complaint we need complainants to appreciate. In addition to the report by Frimpong Boateng, the complainants have made specific allegations against Professor Frimpong Boateng himself on allegations of corruption and the missing excavators and others. You don't expect that. That means that in the context of the allegations against Frimpong Boateng, in the eyes of the commission, becomes a respondent. And so we can't be asking Frimpong Boateng to come and give evidence against himself. We must get that evidence external of Frimpong Boateng. So the areas that we may need Frimpong Boateng will be areas that have no allegations against him, but for which he has the evidence to support.
So it means that at this stage, there's the possibility that you call upon him at some point in time.
Definitely, especially in regard to the areas, one, that he can support the commission with evidence about his own report and possibly reach out to him as a respondent in respect of the allegations made specifically against him in the area of corruption and the excavators.
In terms of that allegation, how would you be investigating it? Clearly they did not give you any evidence with regards to that specific one.
That is why we wrote to them, to appreciate the need to give further and better particulars, because Frimpong Boateng cannot give evidence against himself.
Nonetheless, we know that the commission has done some work so far. Do we have a sense of how far this has gone in terms of their own probe, regardless of all the challenges that we've been articulating so far, Joseph?
A key hurdle that they've been able to scale is the issue of whether this is a matter that even triggers the mandate of Shraj in the first place. They've already come to a determination that yes, this is a matter that Shraj can investigate. Beyond that, they've started identifying various state institutions that have been asked to provide evidence in respect of the various allegations. From what we have picked outside this interview relates to in the agencies within the mining space. Then again, they've started what they said is building a case against the named individuals in the Professor Frimpong Boateng reports.
We're doing a lot. We've reached out to a number of state institutions, expecting them to forward to us evidence of what we also expect from the complainant as well. There's nothing wrong with having the opportunity to look at all possible evidence and all nuances of the evidence in order to make the findings that we think we have to make. So we have done a lot for now.
Are you able to give us a sense of how many people you are looking at, or how many institutions, for instance, you've also written to? Because it's the petition that was sent to you broadly says that all the named officials in it, as against a petition that ordinarily would have targeted specific names written on the documents.
At this stage, I would not want to go into the details of the investigation. Suffice it that we have written to a number of state institutions to provide evidence. Those people who will be respondents, we are also going to reach out to them don't forget, we need the evidence first to ascertain that there is a basis for us to contact the other people who will become respondents. In the absence of any evidence beyond what they have given to us, we need further information or evidence to be able to say the named persons in Frimpong Boateng's report, there is enough basis for us to require a response from them. That is why we are still at this angle of the investigation.
In terms of your procedure, I know that mostly what you tend to do is when you receive a petition, you do a determination to see that whether this is a matter that falls within your ambit. Am I to understand that you've already crossed that hurdle already?
We've crossed that. We are building the evidence now against possible people mentioned in the report. And if the complainants have any further and better particulars, we welcome that.
The response you've received from the MP who petitioned you, do you think it will affect the work that you'll be doing, or do you hold a view that you can still do some good work and come to a conclusion that everyone will find to be one that is supported by what is available?
No, we take the position that the complainant came to the commission as a public-spirited person to bail the cat in the absence of anybody coming forward. He did his best. And so our letter to him is in the spirit of, you have done well so far. Do you have more information that we can use? In the absence of any further information from them, we will proceed to look for the evidence based on the powers given to the commission to the extent possible and come to some conclusions one way or the other.
And that there is the Commissioner of the Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Joseph Withau. I want to bring in Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekbo. He's a member of Parliament who filed this particular petition with STRA. Joins us on the line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. One sticking point jumps up in this interview with STRA, that in your petition to them, you also accused Frimpong Boateng and make allegations against him regarding the missing excavators, etc. And he raises the point there. In one breath, he will have to appear before them as a witness. In another breath, he's a respondent. He obviously cannot incriminate himself. That throws up a significant challenge, does it not?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners, as well as good evening to Mr. Withau. Yes, I did make the allegation against Professor Frimpong Boateng. So, but it's not correct. Let not the impression be created that we sent an empty petition. It was accompanied with a bound volume of some documents. So, if they need more information, yes, we can provide. But
forgive me, just for clarity on that, because you mentioned it, it came with documents, but. Are these documents evidence? I guess is what we're asking for. Further and better particulars, evidence.
You see, the matters as contained in the Frimpong Boateng report, which is the subject of this petition, are matters of public record. So getting evidence of where Galamsey pits are located, videos of environmental degradation, names of public officers. These are matters of public record. These are matters I can easily gather from them. But I'm saying that in responding to the filing of the petition before SHRAC about 2 months ago, Frimpong Boateng himself welcomes the petition and has stated publicly that he is willing to appear before the commission to speak to the issues. I agree that in respect of the allegation of missing excavators, which is an allegation I'm leveling against him, he may not be able to provide evidence to incriminate himself. That I agree. So, and I'm willing to provide that evidence to the commission. But I'm saying in my response to their letter to me that the other documents that they are looking for are entirely in the bosom of the man himself who is willing to appear. So I'm on standby, and I'm willing to provide further and better particulars if Frimpong Boateng declines to provide those evidence or those documents to assist the commission.
So Going forward, though, I mean, Shraj has already told us that in spite of the challenge that they face, they've still gone ahead, written to many state institutions, and they're waiting responses. Happy with at least the work they've done so far?
Yes, why not? Because truth be told, my petition is receiving express attention, and that's good. There are some petitions that when the parties submit them, or when the petitioners submit them, nothing really is heard of those petitions again. But I do follow up. That is why I'm not doing so myself, Roxen, but I'm doing so through I've appointed a law firm to handle this. So I'm very serious about this. And so my lawyers are the persons who are prosecuting this petition for me as a matter that they've taken up professionally. So the commission knows that I'm serious about it, and they're also giving it attention. And indeed, it's in the interest of the generality of the people that this matter be dealt with expressly. And it's also in the interest of Professor Frimpo and Boati himself to also speak to the issues before the commission, so that clarity will be brought to the matters, and we'll know where the gavel falls.
Thank you very much. That's Roxing Nelson Dafiamekpo. Let's stay with issues surrounding the courts and the legal matters, because there are multiple legal and administrative processes set in motion tonight to have a new judge handle the trial of Minority Leader Dr. Keselato Forsing. The current judge is accused of bias, and the Minority Leader and businessman Richard Jakpa are all demanding her removal from the case. The two are standing trial for the alleged rogues in the purchase of ambulances, which the Attorney General says resulted in a €2 million loss to the state. Joseph is still with me on the line. He's been following this also for us. Let's first talk about this businessman. We understand he had quite a clash with the judge a few weeks back. What specific step has he taken now to try and get her to recuse herself from this trial?
In fact, he has gone all the way up to the Chief Justice herself. He's written to the Chief Justice, petitioning the office, asking that, as far as he's concerned, with what he has seen in the courtroom, he does not believe that Justice Ifia Saribotre will deliver a fair trial or supervise a fair trial. And so the Chief Justice should restrain her from hearing this particular matter. And the basis of this particular claim stems from that clash that they had. And Evans, it was quite a scene in the courtroom. It simply had to do with the businessman who had asked to go to the washroom. And initially the judge said no, but later on she did say that there was a washroom that was available at the holding cells within the courtroom. And so the businessman went in, but was in for well over 5 minutes. And so she asked his lawyers to check on him. And when the lawyers brought him back, she sent a clerk to give him a sanitizer. And the businessman at that point in time waved his hand that he does not want the sanitizer. When the judge sought to explain why she had made a sanitizer available, the businessman blurted out quite loud while sitting down that you did not even want me to go in the first place, and now you are giving me a sanitizer. At that point in time, Evans, the judge, visibly quite upset, asked the businessman to stand up and addressed him directly, saying that he's not going to tolerate such disrespect in the courtroom, and she does not know what is being said that has accounted for such conduct to be exhibited, and that henceforth she's not going to tolerate that again. We understand the businessman has attached some of those comments in support of the petition that has been sent to the Chief Justice to make the case that they cannot trust her to be fair in this particular matter.
And what about the Minority Leader?
It has to do with process. In terms of his process, it's an application that he has filed before the same judge, simply asking the judge that recuse yourself because I don't think you are going to be fair. And his basis has to do with an order that we talked about a couple of weeks back. You recall when Alex Mode, Alex Segbefia, and a couple of other individuals who are supposed to testify on behalf of Dr. Forsen, an application was made for summons to be issued, and the judge had indicated that should they fail to show up, she was going to issue a warrant for their arrest. And again, making the point that if Dr. Forsen fails to call witnesses, she will close the case and proceed to deliver judgment on the matter, consider the cases to be done. And they say that those two comments, he believes it means that the judge will not be fair, because the lawyers explained that in the first place, they believe when a witness or someone is used for a witness and he fails to show up, the court's position should be to be inquiring into why the witness has failed to show up, rather than proceeding to issue such threats. And so it's for that reason why they are asking that Justice Ifia Saribotre recuse herself. For now, The Dr. Forcing motion has been put on hold because of what has been sent to the Chief Justice by way of the administrative procedure.
Thank you very much. That's Joseph filling us in as far as those cases are concerned. And let's stay with issues surrounding the minority leader because he's been leading his side in the House on a number of issues. One of them, of course, is the issue with the leaked tape concerning the IGP. Now, the NDC minority is tonight alleging treason ahead of the parliamentary probe into the leaked audio, revealing an alleged plot to remove the IGP as part of a conspiracy to rig the 2024 elections. Now, yesterday, the Speaker of Parliament agreed to the formation of a bipartisan parliamentary probe into the leaked audio. He directed the minority side that had presented an urgent statement on the matter to present proposed terms of reference to guide the work of the investigative committee. We'll be getting details shortly on what the minority had proposed. But first, I have been speaking to the minority leader, Dr. Kaysela Tafosing, who says the contents of the tape is subversive.
It is a matter that will require forensic investigation. Evans, I say this for a simple reason. I don't know if you've listened to the tape.
But yes.
The content of the tape is simple. That they should change IGP Dampari on the basis that IGP, the Inspector General of Police, did not allow them to operate in a way that they were unable to rig the elections in Ascent North. And that if they failed to remove him from office, and if they fail to bring in someone they believe can do the bidding of the party, certainly they will not be able to rig the 2024 election. And so they should case the 2024 elections goodbye. This is treasonable. This is disrespectful to the will of the people of Ghana. This cannot be pleasant. It is a matter that will require immediate investigation, and we believe that it should be forensic.
But you have the capacity.
We should be able to. You see, Parliament, we have the resources to be able to engage any form of consultancy or any form of assistance. Let me put it this way: assistance in unraveling the matter.
He says the minority will demand a nationally televised hearing and will be questioning the individuals identified in the audio publicly.
We want the terms of reference to include forensic examination of the tape. Forensic examination of the tape. So we will not be able to do it ourselves, but we can engage experts.
You're going to get experts
for us to find out if that statement is indeed coming from that COP, whoever they call him. I don't know.
You'll be inviting them once you establish that.
We will have to invite them in public. In public.
So you want this sitting done in public?
In public, and it should be starting soon. As early as tomorrow, if possible.
As in cameras allowed into the sitting of this particular program.
Exactly. And we want all the individuals whose names were mentioned in the tape to be present.
Before a public hearing?
Before a public hearing. And we'll play this and ask them whether this is their voices.
That will be after you had established the authenticity.
Exactly.
Using the forensic experts.
We have to. And that is what we intend doing. Because this is not a matter that we should sweep it under the carpet. Because it has the potential of eroding our democratic gains that we've made so far.
You don't think this is a sensitive matter that borders on national security that needs to be heard in camera?
It goes beyond national security, the democracy. I mean, the liberties that you are enjoying today is because of the democracy that we have. And we should preserve it. Any attempt to destroy the democracy that we have today must be confronted head on.
And that's Dr. Kaysela Tafosing. He is a minority leader speaking on PM Express last night. You can find a full interview on many social media platforms, particularly on myjoyonline.com, also on YouTube. Dr. Ishmael Norman is president and CEO of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies and joins us on the telephone line right now. Doc, is it prudent to have this probe bordering on national security televised?
I think there is nothing wrong. The 1962 or so National Secrecy Act doesn't prohibit public inquiry about, events that affect the national security. So I don't
I don't see why it should not be done. Also, considering the fact that Ghana is now not the best country to invest in due to our security situation, I think the citizens have a right to know what is happening so that we can all toe the same line and bring Ghana to its former prominence of being the safest place in one of the safest places in Africa. So I think it's totally consistent with best practices everywhere,
including bringing these individuals who, of course, now have not been identified formally before the committee to be probed.
Evans, nobody is above the law, and before the law, we are all equal. So it doesn't matter the status, the antecedent of the person should not determine whether he testifies in camera or before the public. We all have a duty to sustain this republic, our democracy, and the safety of this union. So I think it is totally, for me, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Norman, joining us with his thoughts on what we're expecting to be a probe in the House now. The minorities indicating they want this done publicly. I want to bring in my parliamentary correspondent because yesterday the Speaker directed that the minority side submit to him today the terms of reference. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante has been following that for us. Kweku, have they submitted this yet?
Yes, Evans, I can confirm that the Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Amakupi-Boa, has submitted the terms of a statement to the Speaker of Parliament. In fact, he says that he's awaiting the Speaker to make a certain communications on it on the floor. The House is still sitting, and so the Speaker of Parliament is still in the chair. We expect that before the adjourned sittings to tomorrow, the Speaker of Parliament will pronounce on what form or shape this parliamentary probe into that leaked tape will take. So far, he hasn't made any comments about it. They have been discussing other business. But the expectation is that before they take an adjournment tonight, the Speaker of Parliament will clearly set out into detail what committee will be doing this, what their terms of reference is, and how exactly they are expected to do that job.
Thank you, Kweku. Still ahead here on Newsnight. Earth dams constructed under the One Village, One Dam project in Ebongo cannot hold enough water to be of use to residents during times of dire need.
Dam always take us 2 months to dry up. Only 2 months. October, November, the water dry up.
You want to stay with us for details of that. Plus, in today's edition of our Flash of Trauma series, we head to the Ashanti region communities of Orin and Siwa, where residents have abandoned their homes following the flooding situation there. Stay with us for that and more after business. What do you have in the headlines, George?
Well, Evans, coming up in business, Ghana Union of Trade Association sets condition for reduction in prices of goods despite the continued stability of the Ghana cedi against the US dollar. And Talu Oil makes significant progress towards securing government's approval for its Cheneboa Nyaran Tome development plan initiative expected to impact on crude production and natural gas supply. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Alliance Life and Ghana Pay.
Then let's go home, shall we? Let's go where the entertainment is, where the passion is, where the laughter is, and sometimes even the tears too. Let's go where we feel safe enough to share our opinions
and send tweets,
where we do that embarrassing little dance to our favorite song. Let's go home where the love, the care, and the joy live.
There's no place like home. Connect your home to super fast internet with affordable data bundles from MTN Home. Visit broadband.mtn.com.gh or your My MTN app to sign up today. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Do you know Flamingo Paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take 1 bucket of Flamingo Paint, it's equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo Paint, superior hiding. Flamingo Paint, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, superior durability. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex Tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex Tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex Tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex Tank. Syntex Tank, stress-free. Syntex Tank, reliable. Syntex Tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, a year strong, a year tough.
Media Sambisanda mo. Eti emrotia no. Mumu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodompe mu ma na yakono. Eye kwabna. No mumu hwan so na tumi tasmale me ma yene nyina de. Eye kojo. Enu kro. Kobre tumi hwe na bodompe mu sense o yusu accident eba. Ayede yan ban ne do braye. Bo si echi na mo ban na sem ma na hoode ne. Sa ani na kudwo nso yusu accident chako. Na enu ne de e ma wo se wo ye krejen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo ma na feel you. Ey kojo. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie, you're gonna natural.
FDIJ Trading Katuyatu.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Ghana Union of Trade Association says it will start taking steps to reduce prices of some goods on the market if the Ghana cedi stability is sustained and cost of doing business is reduced. Now, this follows calls that traders should move quickly to adjust prices following the cedi stability since last month. Prices of petroleum products have also witnessed some marginal reduction as well. However, these developments have not impacted on prices on the market. Joseph Abing is president of the Ghana Union of Trade Association.
We have to have a long, stabilized currency. When we have a long time stability, then of course the effect will be shown on the prices of goods. But as it were now, we cannot say that we've been able to stabilize for a very long time. Even if the stability, the gains are being overtaken by the taxes that we pay. If cost of doing business is prone down to some extent, and if you're able to stabilize the currency for a longer period of time. Otherwise, the state as we are in we cannot assure any significant reduction of goods. Yeah.
President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Joseph Obeng. We should be moderate about the country's inflation outlook in the coming months. Now, that's the one, and coming from economist Professor Peter Kote, there are projections that inflation rate will start trending down significantly in the coming weeks as we approach the harvest season, as well as the IMF program takes shape. Some are even forecasting that we could get into that single-digit range. But Professor Peter Kote disagrees.
The inflation outlook is positive, given that the rains have been good, given that we have not witnessed any unfavorable weather conditions. But we should manage our expectations because we are not likely to reduce inflation or record inflation in a single digit, given all the factors, given the increase in utility tariffs and fuel prices, some level of depreciation in the cedi, and many other things that are happening concurrently. We're not likely to record single-digit inflation. However, some reduction in the rate of inflation in the coming months is likely to occur.
Economist Professor Peter Kote. Now, State Pension Trust (SNIT) is insisting that the scheme has been handled well by managers. It follows concerns that comparing the scheme to others as well as the Tier 2 contributors have been shortchanged. But Director General of the Trust, that is Dr. Freighton Crane, disagrees.
Taking a sample of pensioners, and we've invested retroactively, taking their contributions and synthetically invested all those contributions in treasury bills. Don't charge them any fees. Roll it every quarter. And what we have paid them as a lump sum at age 60, so we're comparing the same amounts of money. I'll tell you something. The analysis that we did, I think we did it for about maybe 7,000, 8,000 pensioners, randomly sampled. It shows that for people who had been on SNIT pension for about 12 years, which is age 72, they were getting about twice the money that they could have done for themselves, twice. By the time you get to 80, I think it was about 5 times and so on and so forth, right? And I'm looking at it another way. We said, if you had taken that money as a lump sum, which is your contributions invested with T-bills compounded quarterly, and then we ask you to pay yourself every month what SNIT pays you out of that amount. So what you should have done is that you take that money, you put it in a T-bill again, and then every month you keep on withdrawing. The average time for exhaustion of that money was about 9 years. So by the time you are 69, if you are taking your destiny into your own hands, all money gone.
Dr. John Freighton Crane is Director General of the State Pension Trust (SNIT). Now, Tal Oil has indicated that it has made significant progress towards securing government approval for its amended Chineboa Enyera Ntome 10 Plan of Development. Now, this was captured in its trading statement and operational update released to investors. There is more in this report.
Tullow Oil, in a trading statement report, noted that it has made some changes to the plan of development for the Chineboa Enyera Ntome oil field. This was after it had some fruitful engagement with government when it comes to the redevelopment of the area. Tullow Oil also announced that it has taken measures that will help improve the efficiency and the turnaround of the field when it comes to the production of gas from the field. This has resulted to the shutdown of the FPSO of the Chineboa Enyera Ntome, which Tullow says it is also seeking to improve gas handling as well as reducing flaring going forward. Tullow says it's in discussion with government when it comes to reaching a deal in terms of long-term gas sales agreement. According to Tullow, the agreement will not only enhance energy security in Ghana, but add another revenue stream for Tullow Oil. For some industry watchers, all these developments will go a long way in helping turning around the fortunes of Tullow Oil before the end of this year in terms of crude production and gas. Tullow Oil believes it has been able to implement several strategies that will put the oil exploration firm on strong footing before the end of 2023.
And that was the Business Desk report. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And Access Bank was the only loser in terms of trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange. It lost 10 pesos, and each share is now worth 3 Ghana cedis, 40 pesos. If you also turn to the main market in terms of returns, you've gotten about 17% on your investment if you had invested on the general stocks on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And Evans, the city had been fairly stable, but that is one of the critical ingredients when it comes to pricing of petroleum products. And today on PM Express Business Edition, we're asking ourselves what goes into the pricing of petroleum products, and are consumers being shortchanged in terms of benefiting when it matters for it to be reduced at the pumps? We'll be engaging the head of economic regulations at the National Petroleum Authority, Abato Tunti, and also chief executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Kwekwa Jimandia, and from the consumer side, executive secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa, as we talk about fuel pricing, half-year outlook on PM Express at 9 p.m. tonight on Joy News and all our social media platforms.
George, thank you very much. You do not want to miss that. Let's do sports now. And a certain Daniel Cranting is joining us with the latest. What do you have in the headlines?
The Black Stars of Ghana, they've been drawn in Group I of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. So Ghana will take on Mali, Madagascar, Central African Republic, Comoros, and Chad in the qualifying series.
That sounds like Kuchop.
Yeah.
The section of Mali. Nowadays
it sounds strong. Like, but these days.
Yeah, these days the Black Stars is.
Any test looks like a tough test for the Black Stars. Now, the 9 group winners will automatically qualify for the World Cup. To be jointly hosted by the United States of America, Mexico, and Canada. Then the 4 best runner-ups will compete in a mini tournament, and the winner will make an intercontinental player. Former Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan says Ghana's group is tough, but he's confident of qualification.
Since 2006, when we qualified for the first time, till 2022, I think we have been very consistent, except in 2018 that we didn't qualify. And it looks like we are getting used to the World Cup right now, and 2026 is not going to be easy. Expectation is high back home, but we will try our possible best to make sure we also qualify.
You heard former Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan speaking there. Those forces brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Pepsodent, every smile matters.
Thank you, Dan. So live your news night is on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, Earth dams constructed under the One Village, One Dam project in Bongo, Kasnan, Nankana West and Talengsi district, all in the Upper East region, dry up at least by January because the dams cannot hold enough water. Farmers have been telling Joy News they leave the water for their animals to drink and are unable to farm during the dry season as the program intended. In the first of 2-part hotline documentary titled Thirsty Dams, features editor Jojo Kobana reports that farmers are pleading with government to coerce contractors to return to the sites and do a better job. The documentary airs on 17 July. We bring you excerpts.
Water to the northerner is like blood. When we have water, we can do a lot of things for ourselves.
And without it, unemployment, poverty, and famine. To escape, many young people travel down south for supposed greener pastures. The NPP government provided a solution: one village, one dam.
I'm saying every village, one dam. One village, one dam.
The policy appealed to the people in the northern regions.
The government came here and told us that they will be giving us dam. And our people assured them that if they give them dam, they also let them laugh. And really, you can ask our assemblyman and even ask the NPP people what this community did for them. They voted massively for them.
It was a political promise that won the hearts and minds of the people. The dams should make it possible for farmers to farm all year round and break the cycle of waiting for the rains before cultivation. It was the reason why the people of Bongo sang and danced till they became drenched in sweat when the president cut salt for the implementation of the project.
We have begun the One Village, One Dam initiative, and you here in Bongo can see for yourself that we have begun the initiative.
This campaign promise has been fulfilled. Well, but not quite.
Dam always take us 2 months to dry up. Only 2 months. October, November. The water dry up. November, like this, you see our pepper farm. You will like it. But where? No water again.
My name is Jojo Kobinam. It has been 5 years since the dams were constructed. My job here is simple. Find out how the dams are serving the people as it should and what concerns the people have. I hope government will use the findings in this documentary to improve the current state of the dams.
And you don't want to miss the full documentary. It airs on Monday, 17th July. Just mark it in your diary. It's going to be on the morning show. It's going to be on the Joy News channel and across many social media platforms. Don't miss it. Festy Dams. Now, living in a perennial flooding community can be very distressing. Indeed, I lived in one, so I know. There have been many instances where flooding and stagnant waters have led to the loss of lives and property. In today's episode of Flash of Trauma, Nana Boachi Yadom visits Oshim and Siwa in the Ashanti region, where residents have abandoned their homes due to floods.
Each year, flooding causes more deaths than any other hazard related to thunderstorms. In the Ashanti region, Ohim and Siwa are known as flooding communities. Residents experience heavy flooding anytime there is a downpour. Adjoa Tichiwa and Mary Owusu are residents of Ohim and victims of floods in the community. They narrate the difficulties they go through anytime there is a downpour.
Anytime it floods, the Yenesu River is unable to house the flood water, allowing it to get into my house. We would realize everything is wet, including our mattresses. I broke my arm when my house got flooded. The flood waters are heavy, so while escaping, I twisted my arm. We plead with the government to do something about this. We get traumatized anytime it rains. It destroys our goods. The
flood breaks down walls, leaving residents to adopt terrifying means of getting in and out of their buildings.
Now, this is the Enyinesu River, which is supposed to house flood waters anytime there is a downpour. The situation now is that the Enyinesu River is choked and it is unable to house the flood waters. Not forgetting that the Enyinesu River serves as a means of entry and exit for residents living here in Ohim.
Streams and gutters in these communities are stored with sand and waste materials. Left unattended, the clogged gutters and blocked streams lead to several instances of flood. At Sewua, some residents have abandoned their houses as flood takes over their homes.
This is the Susan River in between Sipe and Asebi. Anytime there is a downpour, residents living here in Sipe and also in Asebi are left homeless.
It is true. This house, when we were here, this was the best house around this particular place. But now, because of the flood, the person has vacated the place. The one who is in the house now is just a caretaker. And even the little flood, he has to leave. Immediately, he sees that it has gathered a momentum to rain. He has to leave. When it rains, the water will be flowing. It will be flowing. Before you realize it will come back again. I don't know whether it is choked over here or it is not getting a free flow to go to wherever it likes. That is the cause of it.
One of our my uncle na yiri win na ye wo honom nti ye frɛ na ye ka kyerɛ say nsu aba ye honom nti ye ba na bibia se nti minya hwe nti nyama na ye wo dan no mu.
When we returned from a trip, everything in our house got destroyed. This happens almost every single year, but we have nowhere to go.
Enka bia ye be han ya na ye ka say bia ye betu afiri ha nsu ya ye papa fie na ye ni bibia ye beko.
They want government to help solve the perennial flooding in the community.
In fact, it's a problem to us over here. We don't know what to do to this particular situation. We need your help. Since you've come, we know you are our mouthpiece. You should send this particular problem to the highest team.
Yes, Lamo. Sekebenya kede ka 6 months bia kamo metim so ni mama yetim so ni ma eboa ye papa yetim.
Government should do something about this as soon as possible. At least after every 6 months, they should drain the stream for us.
Compounds like this are unable to survive anytime there is a downpour. Walls break down, rooms get flooded, leaving residents helpless. For Joy News, my name is Nanabuache Dankwayado, Kumasi.
And let's stay in Kumasi because getting water from the ground is capital intensive and laborious. Climate change has also worsened the reliability of these groundwater systems. The Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi is therefore employing artificial intelligence to predict water availability in the ground. Now, Lil FM's Kwesi Deborah has more for Tech Thursday.
Now, according to the principal investigator, Dr. Cyril Boateng of the Department of Physics, the project will build an AI-based system for groundwater which can be accessed by the public through their smartphones and computers.
We want to create a system where you can go to a website, just put in your location, and then the output you receive will tell you, okay, if you drill a borehole to 50 meters, 70 meters, or 100 meters, whatever the case may be, you will get groundwater in this location. Possibly in the future, we want to extend it to the point where you could even just check what will be the quality of water that I will get in this area. Or is there possibility that the water will be polluted, maybe because there's a factory near you and all that? So that anytime you want to access, let's say, groundwater anywhere in Ghana, you just go to this website, put in your location, and you can get a stack of information that can help you determine that, should I really drill a borehole or should I not drill a borehole? We can even expand it to the point where if, for instance, in your area there's too many people, we have too many people depending on groundwater, anytime you put in your information on the website, we can tell you that, it will not be sustainable because there are too many people taking groundwater.
For Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
How much of a difference this would have made to many of you building in far-flung areas where you have no water from the Ghana Water Company? Well, that's how technology can change our lives. Just before we go, in the town of Enum, located in the eastern region, a captivating custom has captured the attention of its residents and visitors alike. This peculiar tradition dictates that both the inhabitants and guests of Enum are strictly forbidden from keeping dogs for any reason. The consequences of disregarding this age-old custom are dire. It is believed it will invoke the wrath of the gods. Now, Enum, like every town, has its own unique history and culture, and this prohibition on dogs is a distinctive part of its heritage. To shed light on this story, my colleague Samuel Mbura visited the community, spoke with the residents to uncover the story behind this custom, and now reports.
In the eastern region town of Enum, you may never hear the barking of a live dog. If you ever do, it may either be from your television or an audio recording. Moving around the town, you will find cats, goats, and other animals But for dogs, no way. Residents here like Kofi has a desire to keep dog for hunting and security at home. However, the fear of divine punishment as well as the disapproval of the town's revered elders has compelled him to conform to the customs.
As for me, I would have preferred to keep dogs because they can be used for security at home and hunting. But our elders are insisting we go by the instructions of the gods and we can't do anything about it.
What lay at the heart of this intriguing custom? Kofi Osai, the revered Asafwache of the Nimfa division in the Num traditional area, explains.
The reason we don't keep dogs in this town is because our deity guards the people with his own dogs. He dislikes the barking of other dogs who may see him patrolling the town at night and prefers to operate in silence without attracting any attention.
Well, that's it for News Night tonight. Just before we go, today we've been celebrating the life of renowned author and poet Ama Ata Edu, who was laid to rest today. We'll be hearing from her daughter, who applauded her, the mother, for teaching her and other women to fight for their rights.
We shared an impossible, enduring, encompassing bond that ensqueezed a lifetime of loving and friendship into those afternoons and evenings.
May she rest in perfect peace.